another episode of With the Chiefs.
Wait. Man, I need more rest.
I hope I've got your last name right there.
It's a very good pronunciation.
You should know better than that now, Donald.
I know. Welcome back to another episode of With the Chiefs. Today we are joined by John Meade from Cork in Ireland, another international Chiefs guest. I think we've only had a handful of those so far. We had Smitty's American mate who did the ultra.
Oh, yeah.
And I think international wise, that might be it.
I think that's it.
I feel honoured, lads. I feel really honoured.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I think John's a 71-minute half marathoner. And I couldn't find too many other PBs of John's.
Yeah, I'm kind of under the radar online. I actually got a 69-minute half. That's probably one of my better results.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah,
but yeah, even though I'm on Strava and so on, I don't really post a whole lot. So yeah, I fly low on social media. So
Yeah. What are some of the other PBs?
I mean, like my 5Ks would be like 15:22 or thereabouts. So it's all on the road. Like, I mean, I actually came to running kind of later on. So my best time really would be my half, like a 69-minute half would be my best kind of overall time. I've done like 2:37 for a marathon a few years ago. But I didn't really focus on marathon running. I fell into a couple of marathons and I ran a few 2:37s or 2:38s. But I don't really keep a track. I'm kind of a hippie runner. I don't keep a detailed log. I used at the start of my PBs, but and I know we race distances as well that you wouldn't be as kind of familiar with. Like we race like 4 mile and 5 mile races. There'd be a lot of what we do. So like my 4 mile time, it's like just over. I have just a sub 20-minute 4 mile from a few years back. So
Oh wow,
which is not yeah. And my 5 mile race, my 5 mile PB would be probably like 25:30 or that way. So nothing too spectacular, but I suppose my objectives in running are kind of different maybe. So I enjoy running and enjoy the races. So yeah.
it's a good attitude to have. I like that, the hippie runner.
There you go. Yeah. People kill me for it, like, because I know it's great. Like you have to have objectives in running. Like it's like for so much in not just running but everything else. Like having a goal is great to target towards. But I think, to be honest, like my main goal in running is just to be running, is to keep running and keep racing. And even taking it even more hippie, like when I see lads in their 60s and 70s showing up to races and being competitive and racing their age categories, it's like, yeah, if I can be doing that when I'm in 30-40 years time, if I can still do that, I'll be happier than breaking 2:30 for a marathon. So not that if I was if I could break 2:30 for a marathon as well, that'd be pretty special. But yeah.
I don't know, I'm sure you wouldn't be too far off it, but I think it's a good attitude to have. Like you can get kind of hung up on setting goals and tying yourself to certain, I don't know, times or whatever.
Yeah, this is a funny one. Actually, I was thinking about it yesterday. Can I tell your profession on the podcast, Dom? Do people know what you work as? They do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so civil engineering, because I used to work as a civil engineer. So there's a story I think is kind of I like it in ways. Is so the Sydney Harbour Opera House was designed and built in like the 1960s. It actually took forever to build it. But at the start they couldn't work out how to build the arches. It was designed by Danish architects, but it's actually an Irish engineer called Peter Rice. He solved how to build the arches of the Sydney Harbour Opera House, using reinforced concrete. And then so he did that, and after that he went to France. He went to Paris, and he worked on the Louvre And in the Louvre Museum, there's an inverted glass pyramid. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
designed by an architect, but they couldn't make it work. But this engineer from Ireland, a civil engineer, he solved it. This fellow called Peter Royce. So he's a really impressive civil engineer. And people asked him, how does he pick his next projects? Like if he went from the Sydney Harbour Opera House, which was like one of the biggest jobs in the world at its time, to the Louvre, which was another of the same proportion. It's like, how would you go from there, and how would you go, like, how can you pick a bigger project? And so it's like, I often feel it with running and with running targets, like people always seem to have a bigger target that they have to aim towards, like a distant target. And he told the story, he goes like, it's like an archer with arrows, and some people they spot a distant target, and like a really ambitious distant target, and they take a shot at it, and like from a distance, and the chance of not hitting the target is huge. The actual chances are you won't achieve that target because there's too many variables between like taking the shot with the arrow and hitting it. But he said what he does is he constantly sharpens his arrows. So instead of looking at distant targets, he sharpens arrows, and he just goes along through life. And when he sees a project then that really appeals to him, he just goes for it. So my idea in running, I just kind of, again, the hippie theory, like that, if you keep sharpening arrows, and when something then comes within distance, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go for that, because too many times I hear of people and they get quite annoyed by it. Like, they have like a 6 months target, like and it is like more typically like, so I run with a lot of marathon runners and long distance runners, but they train very hard for something that's maybe like 5 or 6 months down the road. And so many people get injured, and so many people, are on, like that on the day of the race, things for whatever reason, things don't go well on the day of the race, even though they've trained really well. So I like sometimes just being in good condition, and then 2-3 weeks out, picking something and saying, right, like I can really go for that. But I know it's a real general thing, like, and to really hit the heights of something, you have to be specific, and you have to, really tune your training towards something specific. But that's my story about Peter Royce anyway. And when I heard that story and him telling about the arrows, it's like, oh yeah, I like that story. So
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
A good way to think about it, I think. Like, yeah, if you just kind of always keep that general fitness, you'll be ready for anything.
I think, sorry, John, go on.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like, and just enjoying it, like, and just, not, trying not to stress about it too much, and like trying not to make it too much of a chore in your life, like that you've this block of, like you've this big block of training that you have to work through, and it has to go perfectly. And you have to get these sessions in because you've been given a program, and it can become a chore in your life. And, like, I think when it comes down to it, like, if you're not enjoying running, if running becomes a chore, and if running becomes a stressor in your life, it's like, there's enough things in life that already are going to stress you, like, or are going to happen to you in your life. So if you however you approach running, or however you kind of package running, or you're thinking about running, like, as long as you keep enjoying it, and some people do love that, like they love having their 6-month program, so. But
Yeah.
I like, even there, like we did a session yesterday morning, Luke, myself and Dom, and another lad. We did a kind of a marathon building session. It was a big session, like, and it's not particularly, I don't have a marathon in mind at the moment. I might do 1 or 2 half marathons in the coming months. But just to be able to fall in with a session like that, and I just loved the session. Like, I really loved just going out for, we did like 8 mile kind of steady warm up, and then a 10-mile tempo, and just to fall in with that, like, and just to enjoy it is great. Like, it's a part of running I love sometimes as much as going to some race, just some random Saturday morning, and just do a nice session, and it's it's all positive in, like.
I think
That's it.
I'm just remembering an example from when I've not first when I started, but more when I started improving quite a lot. Dom, you probably remember, I think around the time I ran City to Surf first, and then basically I ran, I think it was like 77-minute in the half marathon, and I had quite like a quickish progression to that. But I remember having to then like I set like very specific goals after it. And like I would even set them, I think like you're talking about when you get too caught into it, like set it 6 months in advance. And then like, even when I used to write the actual goal down, you somehow become like, I became like set to it. And that sort of it at times like put blinders on for me, where I stopped like I was just always focused a little bit too much towards that next thing, as opposed to, like you said, enjoying the sessions. And then when something doesn't, like when things are not going my way, or when like you plateau a little bit, you kind of get a little bit stressed as well, because you're not trending too much in that direction, if that makes sense. So I think I've had in my own experience many times where I've either like gotten too caught up, but also like not having that focus. So it's like I sort of go, there's some sort of middle spot that you can
Absolutely,
try
yeah.
and find, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I'm sure like any coach listening to this, like, will be like, throwing the whatever device they're listening to this on at the wall, like hearing me saying things like that. But there is a happy middle ground. I'm not saying, yeah, like that it's just this random thing that whatever, like you're just randomly running around the place. And I mean, there are goals and you have your hopes, but that it's not all pinned on some big distant target, because it's a really good way to set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah.
If you have this big, like 6 months away, 8 months away, big goal, and it's all chips in towards that, and um, brilliant if it works. But I would definitely say, from my experience of seeing not just myself but other runners, like, I'd say it's probably even less likely to work than it is to work. Like more people, if they shut everything down for one distance, big running goal, more often than not, something goes wrong along the way. And and you can, you mightn't be seeing them at the local races. And then like this story has played out a few times for me, that I'd know a person training for a big target, and then you'd meet them after the event has happened, and they're like disappointed with it. And it's like, something happened that, was unexpected, or, didn't go as they had hoped. So then they've kind of cut out maybe 6 months of local running or other types of running, or just running, with, like we say, Saturday morning sessions. They would want to be doing something quite specific, so they wouldn't fall in with a group, or so yeah, it is like that. There's a happy middle ground, like there is. And I think, like, even there from last Thursday night, when I met Dom there in a local race in Cork, there's more to running, especially where I am anyway, where I'm based. There's more to running than running targets, pure running targets. Like there's a good scene to be involved in, like, and it's, it's that keeps you kind of balanced as well. Like, even there's probably no physiological reason why it should, as in training is training, but like if you're just enjoying it, if you're having fun, if you're meeting people, it keeps you focused, like it keeps you interested, like, and like that, it's not just this chore, like this kind of thing that you wake up in the morning, or when you're going to sleep at night, thinking, geez, I've that session tomorrow, I've this other session I have to do in 2 days time, where I'd hate for running to become that for me anyway, like that, like an extra job that you're after signing up to a job with potentially no pay, like. So
Yeah. I remember another example comes to mind is when I ran first time I ran 2:36 in the marathon, which was a massive like milestone. And then like you're saying, I set like the next target was 2:30, which firstly I didn't understand really how much of a difference there is like between those two times, but also like everything gets tied. Like when I was super focused on it, everything got tied to like that time. So for example, then you start in sessions comparing, okay, is my like if you do a marathon pace workout, is it like is it trending towards being able to run that? And it's sort of like everything moves into like focusing on that, and you sort of lose a bit of sight as to the enjoyment. That's just another example I can think of. Oh, I think we just lost Dom.
Yeah, Dom is gone. Can I tell the
Dom's
world?
gone.
Yeah. Dom in Edinburgh, he's after falling into some hole.
I think he's just disagreeing. That's his way to disagree with me, apparently.
Oh yeah, he's had enough of it. He's sick of me already. The hippie stuff, he can't stand it. It's like you have to have
Oh
your
dear.
program, you have to have your coach. Yeah.
Do you have any moments where you were like too focused like that, or do you sort of was it like
Uh,
yeah.
it's funny, like my history in running is I used to play other sports back along. I used so I'm from the south of Ireland, I'm from Cork in and our major sports here are Gaelic games. It's like we play field sports, hurling and football. And until I was like in my late 20s, that was my sport. I used to play field sports, team sports.
Okay.
So when I got into running, it was kind of like I not to go into the whole my whole life history, but
No, go into as much details.
Yeah, so I left Ireland because of work. I went to Dubai. I worked in Dubai for a little while, and it was when I was over there I started running for the first time. I joined a running club, just because yeah, it was fun. Like I just found myself in kind of a funny situation where I wasn't training. I'd always trained like with my local clubs and played games. So I joined a running club in like probably one of the most least hospitable environments for running. Like it was in the summer in Dubai, it would have been like, you know, high 30s, low 40s Celsius and quite humid. We would like run at 5:30 in the morning and be finished by 7 a.m. But I loved it. Like I immediately really enjoyed the direct return of running. The more you train, the better you get. At the start, at least. I know you like people probably hit plateaus with that. So I would have been like 29 or 30 when I started racing, and so when I came back, I left Dubai. I didn't particularly enjoy being out there. I didn't. Sorry, no, for anyone from Dubai who might be listening, but I didn't particularly. It's a lovely country, but it didn't suit me really living over there. I came back to Cork and joined the local club in Cork. The club I run it now is called St. Finbarr's. But I would have been a generalist, I suppose, in running. Like I'm not running. I don't have an athletics background. Like my family would always have been into like Gaelic games, and so I would have started running like anything. Like if there was a 5K on the road or if there was a marathon. Actually, one of the first things I ran was a marathon. You know, and I was only supposed to run half of it. In Cork City, they used to do a relay. Where, you know, so I was going to do half with my sister, and my sister she used to be a cyclist, a kind of a high enough level cyclist. She got knocked off her bike about like 3 days before this marathon we were going to do. So I did the whole thing. I ran the marathon. So that's where my hippie approach to running started, and it continued from there. So I mean, I would have had like, yeah, I mean, along the way, I fell in, like my club would have a lot of marathon runners. It's kind of an older age profile, and there would be it's mainly road running. We do a lot of cross country. We run cross country in the winter season, and then mostly like roads, and then of the road races, marathon would be the big one. But even, yeah, I mean, I would have had one or two disappointing, especially with marathon. I would have trained quite hard once or twice with a group, and I've won a fella in my club. I'm incredible respect from. He's an older runner, and right through his 50s and late 40s, he used to run 2:33 every single time. He would run 2 hours 33 for a marathon. Just absolutely a machine. He just, you know, he would have been, I think, like he had a 2:26 back along a few years ago, but he just machine out these 2:33s. And I used to train with him, and I used to match him like stride for stride in training. And but then on the day of the races, like I don't know what kicks in with him. He's just got an absolute race. Like his racing ability way surpasses his training ability. But on the day of the races, then I would run 2:37 or something around there, and he would, from mile 16, 17, he would just start pushing on and start opening a gap on me. And so I would have had I would have come away from 1 or 2 marathons just a bit disappointed, and I kind of left it. Then it's like 8 years since I ran a marathon at this stage. and you know, I probably should, like, I should go back and try, you know, and like that, you know, pitch for like maybe low 230s or something like that, you know, and you know, maybe change my training approach a little bit, like just to you know, to get a bit, you know, I'm not sure, you know, like, yeah, how to get that, just to get that strength and endurance into my legs, like, you know, and but yeah, so yeah, I mean, it would have been over more of the yeah, one or two of the shorter distances that or sorry, over marathon once or twice. It would have been the only real occasions where I came away just a little bit, yeah, a little bit disappointed with how things went.
Yeah, no, that's I think marathon's certainly one of those tricky ones, and everything sort of needs to go right as well. But so what is your, from a training point of view, what does your sort of typical week look like at the moment?
Yeah, it can be, yeah, I mean, it's like that. I would run pretty much most days, like you know, and I know a lot of people will, you know, most people would have at least one rest day, like, but I just enjoy going out running. So I'm not really a big mileage runner. Dom is gone again. He
We
just
lost
really
him
isn't.
again.
He's really not enjoying me. It's like,
No, it's because I started speaking again.
yeah,
Oh, there, now he's
yeah,
come back.
he's back again.
Dom, 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 dom.
Dom is back. Oh, you really don't like what I'm saying, Dom? Yeah, it's like, Jesus, will you never shut up? Like, next guest, please. Next guest.
No, the
I
internet's
mean, you really, I admire how you're
Flagging
making it work out in some cafe.
yeah. I don't know. It's not everyone's having breakfast, so I can't go find a good spot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's all
is that where
right.
you are, Dom? Are you in a cafe in Edinburgh? Yeah.
Oh, I'm just out the front of the hostel actually.
Oh yeah,
And it's with the
for
Fringe
fish. Yeah.
Festival, and there's just a lot of background noise as well. So it's all happening.
It's
Yeah.
all happening. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
Really,
right.
yeah. I was just boring people down with my training week, what my training week looks like. But
Oh, right, yeah.
yeah. So no, I was just saying, I'd run pretty much every day. Suppose apart from a race, like um I I do think it's a good thing actually. Like you know, with not, you know, with DOMS, like delayed onset muscle soreness, as opposed to the person in Edinburgh, that if you take a break 2 days ahead of a race, I like that approach. You know, just have, if I was to have a rest day coming up to a race, it would be 2 days ahead, and then like go out the day before the race, just and have an easy run. But I'm not a big mileage. I don't have mileage targets. I don't have like a magic number that I want to hit every week. So, but I would run maybe 50, 60 miles a week. And I would definitely, if I don't, I race a lot. I love racing. And I'm lucky enough where I am in Cork, there is loads of racing, and it's smaller stuff, as in it's local stuff. It's 5Ks, 4 miles, 5 mile races. But especially during the summer, from like, I don't know, April to September, like literally every week, you know, there's a race within maybe a 30-minute drive. You know, so it's really easy to race, like do lots of races. And I love races. I think it's so much, like, I take a race any day above a session. And I'm always like, I'm eternally perplexed, like, with how you can run in a race with the adrenaline effect, whatever. Like, you know, you go out in a race and you run a sub 5 minute first mile, like by mistake, you know, like not wanting to, you know, not even in any way breathing, you know, like just like not breathing heavy, not trying to do it. And then on it, like if you're trying to do a session of mile repeats, like I might run like a 5:15, you know, for trying to do fast mile repeats, and I'd be broken trying to run like having done that. Like I can't, not believing how slow I am when I look at my watch. So whatever kicks in racing, I mean, I think I'm glad, and I'm lucky, you know, I'm thankful for it, that I love racing. And because I know some people, they train fantastically, like they really are brilliant trainers, you know, and I'd be fearing them. Like I train with them in a training session, and I'd be thinking, oh my God, like next time I meet them in a race, I'm going to be just left. But then some people, I think, they don't get the same kick out of racing. And if anything, yeah, like they underperform in races, and from what they can do in training, it doesn't replicate in a race. And that can be very frustrating, like for for any runner, like who knows in their heart and soul, like they can match like a group of people in training, and then when it comes on the day of a race, they're back down in the results, like where so with that, my point being is that I race a lot. So if I don't have specific sessions, then like if I have a race during a weeknight, I might do one other fast session. But if I don't have a race in, like some of the sessions I do, they're generally like longer sessions, as in they might be like 4K repeats, or so I might do like 4x4K or 4x10 minutes. Doing maybe like 520s or 525s or some speed like that. And because I suppose like I used to train a good bit on the track, and doing my 400s and my 800s and trying to run as fast as I could for 400s. But I suppose I am moved more towards the mindset now of like just train to what you want to do, like dial in speeds that you're going to run, and just so like if I'm training at like 5:10 like minute miling, like I'm never going to be really racing a whole lot faster than 5:10 minute miling. So if I can just run that consistently, I think it acts towards my racing. And as well, when I used to train more on a track and train, like really go for it, like for 400s and whatever it was, or 200s, I used to be way more niggly, like my hamstrings and whatever else, calves would start coming at me, like especially hamstrings actually, like if I was like lashing out sessions on the track. I know, and absolutely, like you need to keep your top end speed, like that is absolutely, it's a great benefit for you. But just for me, as I'm pushing towards the age categories, like I'm an M40 runner now, like, so I think definitely as you get older, like you have to adjust your training, because I think the recovery as well, like when you're younger, in every aspect of life, like you can fairly batter your body, like you can be out late all night, and get up and do a big run the following morning, and it doesn't really bother you. You can just keep, it's grand. Like, or like Dom is what you're doing at the moment, living out of a backpack and rock up to a race, having spent a day on buses, and you'll just like lash out the race and you'll be fine. But like as you get a little bit older, it's like you have to be you can't batter your body as much with sessions. So it's yeah, so that, and like that, a lot of my miles are easy miles. There's just a group of lads. I run a lot of easy miles, but and they're just chatting miles. They're 10 or 12 miles we'll do of a day of just easy miles, and it's really social. And it is, like, for me, to be honest, like it's as much as it's a social outlet as much as as being a real specific focus towards a running objective I have, like. So, but I would say in running as well, like, it's funny, I'm kind of like, I know I'm being like general and, like I was saying, kind of being a bit hippie about it, like, but like I think a big thing is just being consistent as well. Like, I think someone who can keep running consistently will mostly do better than someone who does like really driven blocks. Like, so you could like have someone who trains like an animal for 4 or 5 months, like really lays it out, but then they might get tired of it, or they break, or they crack themselves, and so they have an up down kind of a spike of how they train. They train really hard, or then maybe they're not training at all. So just that consistent build, I think, and a consistent, if you can get consistency in your training, it's worth it's key, like, because you just keep building, like, you just keep you keep consistently building with that, then, like, so that'll be some of my ideas around training, like.
And what about the long run? Do you normally do specific?
Yeah, it depends. Like, I mean, so like Sunday mornings are, and I didn't do it this morning yet. I've been lazy this morning. We were out last night, so So I'll run after the call here. But Sunday morning is usually long run, is when we do our long runs. And would usually do, yeah, I mean, like typically, like if it's not a marathon build, or like, because like that, I often just fall in with lads who are training towards training towards marathon. Like Dublin Marathon in October is a big one for a lot of people in Ireland. It's the biggest, Ireland's biggest one. Is the national championships. But so like if it is, I mean, doing an 18 or 20 mile, maybe like, yeah, at the moment, like it'd be like an 18-mile run on a Sunday morning, but it's usually a steady run. Usually what I used to train before, when I was actually doing some of my own marathons, it was just a it's funny, like it's like a progression run. But I used to train with lads who were kind of old school, and they never use words like tempo, progression, intervals. It was like it was very funny. It was brilliant. Like, it was a great experience training with some of these boys. Like, it was we just start running, we do a 20-mile run, but like at some point during the run, and it would be typically like maybe 8 miles into the run, it would just start cranking up. And you would just gradually then, like from maybe 8 miles to like 18 miles, it would just, by the time you're at 17 or 18 miles, it was like a full out effort. Like, everyone's just hanging on, just in a boot. Like, the chatting would have stopped, no one was talking, and you're just hanging in there. So, which, like, it's a progression run, and then you just do, for no one at one point didn't actually, it was funny, it was so like, it was non-specific, but it was perfect. Like, it was absolutely like, it's so many people do it now, like, as in like a long warm-up, do your efforts, and then you cool down. But like, there was this kind of marker points along our run where, you just start ramping up the efforts. You do your all out, a really strong effort for maybe 10 miles or so, and then it would be unspoken, like, but you just start backing off the efforts then as you start coming back towards the end point. Because this is going back a few years, and a few of us had just like Casio watches. We weren't working off Garmin's, we just work off time, so it was just really kind of hippie stuff. But it was but it worked, like, it was, because it's the same thing. You're going for a 20-mile run.
Yeah.
10 of those miles are at real strong efforts, and if you're doing that, it's a good session, and you come home just fit to lie down. Like, you need to lie down, like, for half the day, like, because you've worked so hard. So yeah.
Was there one particular person that would sort of like push it, or did someone just make a call as to like push the pace, or how did that work?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah, so we have this person, I was saying, his name is Cathal O'Connell, and I'm going to name check him because he's a real, like, a fantastic person in running. He's 60 now. Actually, he hit 60 this summer, and he's still running 240s for his for his marathon. Yeah, he's really, really, really consistent runner, and he was our leader. He was our absolute leader. So he's a person now, like, back along 10 years ago or so, just banging out 233s, 234s, and like that. As the marathon went on, he would just keep cranking it up, and all those around him would just start falling away from him. But during those sessions, it was very like that. No one would say a word at the start of the session. We just meet at 8 o'clock every Sunday morning, and no one would say, what session are we doing? What's the session this morning? It was just a long run, and you just match him. Like, you would just try and fall in with him and keep up with him. But it was brilliant. It was a really, because I think sometimes people can make too much of a science of it and too much of a mathematical equation of it, and try to make an exacting, precise science, and get annoyed and get caught up with that, and I know it's important, again, I know any coaches that will be disgusted with me saying this, like, but sometimes, like that, if you have an experienced runner and just falling in with an experienced runner and matching off them, it's a very basic way to approach to do it. But like, I think it's a good, it's worth trying. Like, I love things like snowboarding or ice skating, or I love doing those things as well, and just different things where you're learning new techniques. But I'd always look for someone who looks like they know what they're doing. Like, if you're learning a new talent, and just try and match them, so instead of trying to, like, like go on YouTube clips or like read a couple of books. Like sometimes if you just find someone who's very good at it and just fall in with them, and I think that approach in running as well can work.
Yeah.
And just by, you know, by spending time and by osmosis, like you pick up sometimes what they're doing, and it's worth more, and the lessons you learn are maybe worth more than something you might see on a podcast or on a YouTube video sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Just if you ever try and pick up skateboarding, don't go near Dom, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, is he a legend?
No, not at all.
That's the job.
Sorry, I had to sneak that one in, Dom. I have a question about what about the not running with a Garmin? I assume you run with a Garmin now. And what was it like not sort of, I've never done that before. I don't know why I'd be stressing about pace and stuff like that and not knowing like how fast I'm running. What was that like?
Yeah, it's funny. I suppose ignorance is bliss, like, and like that. And yeah, I mean, because when I got into running, like, so yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not that long, like it's whatever, 13 years ago is kind of when I started running properly, like, or in any way consistently, or with a club or doing sessions. And plenty of people had, like, it's not like Garmin's weren't around, of course they were, but I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. It's like that when that first group of people I ran with, there wasn't that specific focus on what are we running now, and like when I was describing those long sessions, like I've no idea, like when we started ramping up, I've no idea what we were running, like if we were running like 550s or if we were running 530s, and you know, I suppose and in ways like it probably helped, as in, you know, I used to just be buzzing off it, like I used to just be buzzing off those sessions. And even I would say, even to a point, it can be a liberation not having those specifics in certain ways. Like even in a race, like I would never look at my watch, I would never look at especially my first split, first mile. We always run by miles in our road races, pretty much. Even it's funny, in 5K and 10K road races, they're marked in miles. Like in a 5K road race, it's like, you know, 3.1 miles. I don't know if it's the same in Australia, like, but you have because it's funny when people come to visit, like, you know, or if there's someone not familiar, like, and it's a 5K race, and the first road marker they see is at a mile, and it's like they think something has gone wrong, like they're looking because they think it's a K, and it's like some, you know, they can't, it just completely throws them. But anyway, my point being, I suppose, like that, if you look at your first mile split, and no matter what, like if that, like I was saying earlier, if you go out way too fast, you know, unintentionally, like you run your first mile way too fast, which typically happens with adrenaline and the group is going, and maybe some unknown Australian like absolutely tears out the first mile of the race, as maybe happened a few nights ago.
Dom, you've never gone out too fast in a race. This is the first.
Yeah, I was thinking that running the sub 5 minute mile just becomes easy, as you were saying before, when you're racing. So that first mile is probably sub 5.
It even must have been. Do you know what it was, Dom, last Thursday night, your first mile?
Not 100%. I reckon it would have been around that, probably 5 minute mark.
Oh, I'd say it was it was probably like 4:55. But anyway, just to say, the point I was trying to make, or I was going to make, was that sometimes knowing your first split, I think it can do nothing really, unless you're very, very lucky, like, and you hit it bang on, like, you know. So if you're too fast, you're too slow, it can do nothing but kind of put you off a little bit and start you thinking like, I'm gone too fast, I'm gone too slow. And like, especially with road racing, and like I don't really run on the track, so I know track is a mathematical science, like Roger Bannister said, like, you know, running a 4 minute mile is a mathematical you know, you just run out your 60 minute laps and that's it. But with roads, there's so many more variables at play, like, and so knowing exactly your first mile split, especially with the shorter stuff, it's you know, it sometimes it can be just off-putting. But, and like, so back along the ignorance of when I started first, and actually I don't know if I still I have some old watches close to me, but I have, like, sorry, an old Casio watch I used to run with, and Sometimes what I used to do was put on a countdown, like, so I'd have, if it was like 5:10, I'd put it on a 5:10 countdown, so we'd keep repeating 5:10s. But like, for a race, so if I thought I was going to try and, I had this target time, but I split the target time by the number of miles of the race, and try and do something like that. But it's like, racing is so variable anyway. You just react to what's happening on the road, and especially if there's a group, like, you just react and you run with the group. So yeah, I mean, and even with like, I used to just keep a diary, but like for my running miles, and like, that is true. Like, I didn't actually know some of the distances we had, or some of the loops. It's funny, like, I used to just run loops, and I'd have an idea of how long the loop was. I used to think, I used to have an idea it was like a 5.5 mile loop or a 6 mile loop. And it's funny, because when I did get a Garmin, whatever, some years afterwards, it's like, I was, I could have been like way off with what I thought some loop I used to regularly run was. But it's funny though, like, I think you can make too much of a science of it. And so, and even now, like, sometimes I don't run with a watch. Like, I don't, like I was saying, on Strava or Garmin or whatever, I don't really post my runs, because a lot of time I wouldn't wear my Garmin or whatever. So, I keep a record of it. I like that. I'm coming from, and I'm glad I did it, like, kind of having trained with it's kind of older school athletes who just have a running diary and would, like, physically write down what their mileage was like. So that's still what I do, but like, I mean, one of the biggest bonuses I find anyway, actually, for having a Garmin is if just running if you end up running somewhere new, like, I was lucky enough there in 2 weeks ago. I was in France, in the Pyrenees, in Font-Romeu, in the south of France, running and training, and just finding new routes, and just put in, like, download the route to your watch, and, like, especially with trails, and if you're a little bit off the main roads, you can just find fantastic. It's like absolutely game changing. Like, you can find some lovely routes, and I don't know if you used that, Dom, when you were in Cork, to find where you ran, down by the waterfront, like, and.
Yeah, I got the Strava Premium. It kind of like shows you all the running routes and like popular spots where people run. So yeah, that's been really good for traveling around.
Yeah,
it does get you lost every now and then,
yeah,
especially like in Croatia and in the back of Italy. Like, had to like run through farms and jump fences and stuff, which was a bit sketchy, but yeah, most of the time it works out all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's a gift. Like, just like that, rocking up into some, like, if you're in a foreign country, and it doesn't matter where, to a large degree, it doesn't matter where you are, just look for a local run and off you go. And instead of like that, because previously, like, yeah, you might just do an out and back along some pretty obvious road, just to be sure you don't end up your like 40-minute run becoming a 3-hour run, because you just end up in the middle of nowhere, like. So yeah.
So, tell me about the race, guys. How did it go? And yeah, maybe just go through that.
Yeah, you go for it, Tom.
Okay. Yeah, well, from my perspective, I was standing on the start line, a bit nervous to race, and yeah, John kind of started chatting to me. I think he was trying to I don't know, size me up, see
pretty
what
much
would be happening. But it made me feel really welcome. It was good. Like, I was just in a great mood and happy to be there. It came off a big day of travel. I think we spent probably, I don't know, 3 hours or so, or 4 hours on buses and things. And so I wasn't too sure how I'd go, but took off pretty quickly. It was all like downhill for the first half of the race, and then you get to the bottom and you come up back uphill like slightly, but it was all pretty runnable. There wasn't any kind of big hills that slowed you down too much. But yeah, I took off pretty quick. And I think I kind of wanted to just I was hoping that almost like someone would go with me and maybe
I
don't
saw the
get tired out
photo.
or
I saw
something.
a photo, and you're just in your new. You did get the vapor
Yeah.
flies, and you're just like, there's a big gap, and I'm like, big shock
Yeah.
here.
So I did that for about the first mile, and then no one was coming with me, so I eased back a bit, and luckily I hadn't gone out too hard, and I could kind of recover a bit in the pack with everyone else. And yeah, it was a pretty good pack. There was like maybe 5 or 6 of us all together. John was out the front leading the whole thing, which was pretty tough because there was a lot of headwind in the back half, and I think John was kind of copping most of it while everyone else was just tucking in behind him. Um, and then it came to the last probably 600 or 700 meters. And yeah, Dara, the other guy who ended up winning it, he started his kick, and yeah, he was just too good. He kind of broke away pretty quickly, and I was kind of like battling with John. I think John put in about 2 or 3 surges, and he got me on all of those, and like I was pretty broken. I was starting to drop off the back of him a bit. And then it came to like the last 200 meters, and the guy in fourth was coming up on me, and I could feel him on my shoulder, and I was like, oh shit, like I got to sprint now. So I started sprinting, and then all of a sudden I was catching up to John, and I was like, oh, hang on, I can probably get him. So I pushed a little bit harder, and I just managed to pass him on the line, which yeah, it was a good finish.
Yeah, it was funny. Dom had that first mile. He's like, it says proper runner on his singlet. I'm not sure what that is. So it's like that. Like it's such a local scene here in Cork. So like, probably like the first 6, even more like we would know each other. Like so, everybody knew each other. You know, apart from like Dom and I met Rebecca as well at the start, and so you know, I wasn't. It wasn't like, you know, not trying. I wasn't trying to be too sneaky, like working out who you are, like, or
No, no,
sizing you up too much. Like how much of a threat is this fella to us? But when you went strong, one of the boys, it's actually the fella who ended up in fourth, James McCarthy, who pushed you on. We say to that last sprint, because when you went off, he just said it. He goes like, "Well, he's a proper runner anyway, so let him go. He knows what he's doing."
all right.
You know, when he saw it on your singlet. Uh, it's funny, right? That in the last, it's funny, you know, when we were running around, and in fairness to you, like, and I know you came back off the pace a little bit, but when we caught up to you, I was like, sure, like, oh, that's you gone anyway. Like that's, you know, we will just like train past you, whatever there was 4 or 5 of us, and it's like we'll just move on now. And so I didn't know you were there. Like I thought you were gone until like whatever 600 meters to go, and I knew there was. I couldn't quite work out how many pairs of feet were behind me. I knew there was like 3. I was thinking that, you know, there might be 4 pairs of feet, and I just I had this vision in my mind of, you know, with about 400 meters to go, of like everybody just streaming past me. You know, like one after the other, like who had just sat in. But so I was happy to yeah, it's funny actually coming in to finish straight as well, because the crowd was reacting. You know, when you started your that last sprint, the crowd was reacting to that, but I thought I was clear. Like, you know, I thought I was.
Oh, right. Yeah, you
I
had.
and I thought,
thought you were clear as well.
and naively enough, like I should know better by this stage. I thought, oh, this is great. Like the crowd is such an enthusiastic crowd. They're giving us a really good reception, and it's like, no, actually, they're going mad because your man is absolutely tearing down. You know, so you just caught me. Yeah, like when I'd say 2-3 meters, it's like when you caught me, then it's like, I don't have time to. There was no time to react. You know, I couldn't have reacted anyway, but is yeah, this is good fun. Yeah.
No, it was a really fun race.
Yeah, I know it was. It was a nice evening as well. The weather was good, and it's a lovely, like, it's a little village, Rathcormac, and they, in fairness to the race organizers, they had a really nice evening. You know, they lots of sponsors, like, and I'm not sure, you know, you know, like what the race scene is like in Australia, where you race regularly, like, but a lot of these races, like, it's as much about the chats after. It really is, like, I mean, it's great to race, have a good race, and have a good battle on the course, but just the cool down run afterwards, and having the tea, like, inside the community hall afterwards, it's like tea and sandwiches, and bit, you know, cake and all that, and it's the prize giving, so it's very social, like, you know, and you always end up, you know, having a good chat afterwards. So that's not like, it really is genuinely like it's an important part of the night, because I know in some places, even in the road race scene, they might do something like the first three, as they pass the finish line, they'll give them prizes, but then everyone just kind of jogs onto their car and just heads away home. You know, so like it is a special, and I know like it's, you know, it's just a really nice thing about the local race scene here anyway. Like it's you know, it is a nice social, it's a social thing. It's a, you know, and it is important, because like not everybody there is going to be on a podium, like, so it's, you know, it's nice that you know, there is something more than just you know, just running the race, like that there is a setting for, you know, just for the chats, getting to know people. And like you would have had a few chats as well down that night with a couple of, and they were delighted to meet you and to hear there was some lad from Sydney running in this small little village in the middle of nowhere, in, you know, in County Cork, like. So it's like, it's a funny one actually, just to say it, you know, like one of my favorite things to do in travel, like a lot of people when they travel for races, it's for a big race, you know, which is, you know, it could be like one of the big marathons, or, you know, and it's a big event. But I love traveling abroad to small races. I love, like, it's very easy for us in Cork to get to like Spain, France, Italy. Like we've Ryanair flights from Cork, and just going to like an equivalent race to what we did last Thursday night, just some small little race in some little village. I love doing it. Like, I think it's a really cool thing to do. You know, because you can just, there is no big logistical nightmare of like being one of 20,000 or 30,000 people trying to get to the same start line. You know, you just like rock up into some village, get a bus up to some village, and, you know, chat to some people, and you do the race, you know. And like racing is a common language across the world. Like you just go out there and run as fast as you can, and, you know, and if you're good at it, people can appreciate that, or, you know, whatever level you're at, you know, you just go and do it. And I think it's a really lovely thing to do. It's a lovely thing to do during a trip, you know, during a holiday. It's a fun thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it seemed really special. Like there was like a real sort of community around there, and it seemed like, yeah, all the runners like knew each other pretty well. There was so many people coming up to me, and it seems like a pretty cool scene that you've got, that you can have those races like regularly. We don't really get that as much back home. Like you rock up to a race and I don't know, maybe you know one or two people, but you don't have that same kind of community feel about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool that you're always kind of racing these guys, and you really get to know each other pretty well.
Yeah. It's a funny one as well, though. I mean, a lot of the lads who are, when I started running and racing, like whatever, 10 odd years ago, it's just like, even the boys there now, the first, apart from Dara, the lad who won it, like second, third, fourth, fifth, well, apart from third, or sorry, second yourself, we've been running, we've been like, we you know, the same bunch of lads would have been, are kind of towards the front of the races for the last like 10 years. So I'm just hoping like that there's, you know, a younger group, a younger cohort of runners, like, you know, that they arrive on the scene. I mean, it's great for me at the moment that I can still get towards the front of a race, but, you know, there should be, like, it would be nice to see younger groups of fellas and girls like coming up and, you know, pushing it on, because it's a lovely scene to be involved in. It really is. And I don't know, maybe a lot of the younger runners are running track and they're more, that's their scene and so on, but it is a nice scene to be in, and it's good to keep pushing it on, you know, and have a new group of people, because that's important as well. Like, you know, that you have just, you know, younger groups of people coming through and pushing it on, like, and keeping it going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about your hamstring sort of niggles on the track. I was wondering if you've had any injuries throughout your time running at all.
I've been really lucky. Like I mean, I have been very lucky. Like I've not had many significant injuries. And any that I've had, actually one of the few actually like real specific injuries I've had was like a hamstring tear. I did it like running cross country and All Ireland cross country, like in a really mucky day, and having the race of my life. It was a 10K course, and maybe 9Ks into it, like it was really sticky, mucky course, like in the middle of an Irish winter on a wet day, and literally like your feet getting stuck in the ground as you were trying to run through it. And like I remember just thinking I was shot. Someone had either kicked me or shot me in the back of my hamstring, you know, and just literally hitting the floor, like, and having to crawl off the course. But I'm not sure, like, you know, how to say this best. Like, you know, some people would really push hard through injuries, you know, if they have niggles or like that, if they're training towards something and they realize something is niggling or something is twinging, but they have this like a big and important target for them, so they grind away through it, and they they exacerbate in an injury, and they could make it chronic or make it a really significant injury. But I would be I'm just conscious, like, of that if I have something that does start twinging or niggling, or if I'm tired, or, you know, I would always, like, I would just back off it, like, you know. And I know it's like, it's a required quality of a runner, that you are able to embrace suffering and embrace, like, discomfort, and especially in a race, that you can just sit with it, like, and you can just, you know, if your heart is going and your lungs are heaving, that you can say, you know, this is what it's going to be like, and just sit with it. And I love that. I actually enjoy that, like, and kind of the mentality around that. But if it's something that's actually, like, that I know is, like, if it was like an acute twinge of an injury like that, like, I've heard people say, like, even as an example with the hamstring thing now, like, when that happened to me, like, I knew, like, that's bad, like, you know, that's something bad has happened, and there is no point in trying to be a hero of, like, grind it out and then maybe not run for 6 months because you have really exacerbated an injury, because, you know, you thought it was, you know, a better thing to do, to try to suffer through it. And like that, yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, I kind of measure my training as well. Like I said there, I'm not a big mileage runner. I don't have, you know, I've never tried to run 100-mile week. I've run a few 100-mile weeks just because, like, and I can, like, I'm capable of running 100-mile weeks, but I don't, like, I'd be nervous, like, maybe I'm just too precious about myself. Like, I mean, some people, they know. It's funny, I was listening to someone yesterday, and they said they wanted to absolutely maximize themselves actually, it was Josh Kerr. He said between the ages of 25, after he beat Inga Brixton, between the ages of 25 and 30, that was it, like, and whatever happened after that, if his body, and he didn't say this, but, like, I know some people would think this way, if their body is a wreck, a physical wreck, after they've had these target years of, right, this is when I'm going to be really at my physical peak, you know, they don't care, like, as in they would be willing to do that. And if it means they don't run, or their knees are banjaxed after that, it's like, yeah, fair enough, because I'll have done what I wanted to do. But I wouldn't have that approach, like, you know, like I said, if you ask me what my running target was, and I might say, if I'm running when I'm 70, if I get to 70, hopefully, that'd be my running target, and whatever happens along the way. And so with injury, and so your specific question was with injury like that, I would do things in around strength and conditioning and plyometrics that I think helped me. And, like I was saying, as you get older, and it's not just a thing about getting older, because I used to always do it anyway, and maybe it's from my background in other sports, about just general conditioning, that I am a really strong believer in just conditioning, like, in upper body conditioning. And I have this idea that, like, it's brilliant having a fantastically strong set of legs, like, and people say, oh, you're a runner, so just run. Like, why are you going swimming, or why are you on a bike if you want to be a runner? But, like, it's great having a strong set of legs, but if that's not tying into something strong as well, like, something is going to break. Like, there is going to be you know, a breakdown, like an imbalance between, like, this brilliantly strong set of legs, but then you're, like, you've kind of a wasted upper body. So I think that helps in terms of injury prevention. And there's a book I read not that long ago. It's a fellow called Richard Asquith. He's a British writer. He wrote this famous book called Feet in the Clouds, and he wrote it's only a few months ago the book came out. It's about masters runners and older runners, and there's a few things resonated in that actually was good. Like when I read it in the book about like plyometrics, like that runners as you get older, like just doing more plyometric stuff like jumps, and it can be it's just simple stuff like it's just skipping, jumps, like pencil jumps, tuck jumps, like after you've done a run, and just keeping your calves and your feet keeping those working and strong. I think that is that for me personally, like that's been something I've done, and I've been able to run consistently, for a good long time. But then like that, it's probably because I'm just too easy on myself. I don't flog myself enough. If I trained properly, if I trained hard enough, I would, and that's part of running. I know that any good runner has probably pretty significant periods where they're injured, whether they tell you or not. That's the other thing, they probably don't tell you a lot of the time, but they are twinging and niggling, and that's part of the game. I mean, you're pushing yourself on that knife edge between being really fit and strong, or some muscle tears, like the difference between being at your absolute physical optimum and then breaking and something snapping is such a fine line, and invariably, like, you only know that line when you've gone past that line, when you have injured yourself and something does snap. So but like that, I just enjoy, yeah, I enjoy just being able to, just running, like just trying, week in, week out to be able to run, and occasionally then have a big, bigger target to have a cut at, like,
I think that's a good approach. And so do you have like a gym membership or anything, or do you just kind of do those exercises on your own? And
I pretty much do them by myself. I have a few basic like weights and like medicine ball and just like bands, like, and I mean, I find that, if something is easy, you're more inclined to do it, and the easiest thing of all is if it's something immediately in front of you. So like if you have a couple of like a kettlebell weight, or like a few even hand weights or something like that, you can just do pretty much everything. And then like the plyometric stuff, like when I come back from an easy run, I would just do, a couple of minutes of just jump. Literally, like if people saw me, they'd be like, "What's your man doing?" Like, doing star jumps and lunges and just next to the car, like, but so it's very simple. And then just conditioning stuff, like just having a bit of a daily routine of like sit-ups and planks and just a few little things with a medicine ball, like with a, just, it's very simple, like, and but it's consistent, and I would be very consistent with it. And it's like that, it's easy because it's, I have a, it's, even if I go traveling, I could whatever, like put in a bands or something like that, or even just doing sit-ups or bridges or planks. You can just do them wherever you are. So you don't need to say, "Oh, I can't get to a gym, so I'm going to have to skip my S&C." So if it's simple, you're more likely to do it. Like, but I do think it's really important. I think it's for runners, and then, and not to keep saying it, but like as you get older, it becomes more important, because whatever, your muscles, however your muscles recover, and you recover better in as a younger runner, and you need to be doing extra stuff. You really do, as you get older, to to just to get that strength, just to have a kind of a more overall strength, I think, like, and
I think something that's been nagging at me, and it's actually funny, Dom, you asked that question, because I did a long run on Sunday. It was 34K, so much further. I haven't run that far, probably in 6 months. And then we did like a big session on the Friday, so 2 days before. And then I did a session on Tuesday, after the long run, and something popped up in my glute. So I'm kind of dealing with that exact thing at the moment, trying to figure out like, because for context, I have a race literally in a week's time that I've been training for, and I'm in that spot where the pain, like it's not, I don't know, it's hard. Sometimes when something comes up, I'm in two different minds. Like I'm either convincing myself it's really bad and that's I don't know, it's like it's a stress fracture, that's where my mind goes straight away, or I'm deluding myself into thinking that it's not that bad. So like
Yeah.
I've got to figure out, I'm seeing the physio on Wednesday, but it's funny you're talking about that, because I think I stay like you, John, I stay in this, like try to err on the side of like doing much like a little bit less than in terms of volume and that intensity, just to stay away from that niggly zone. But it's funny, as soon as like one thing comes in, like that longer run, for example, it can just like turn that balance off almost. So hopefully it
Yeah.
goes okay.
Yeah, hopefully, absolutely. But yeah, like you do have to be careful. Like, yeah, just I suppose like that. Just with everything going on in life. I mean, whatever, if you're working a job and training like that, um, you can't just endlessly pummel, like your body, and just knowing that, like just listening to it. There's this, if you can quote a Greek, or if you can quote something from 2000 years ago, it's usually it sounds impressive anyway sometimes, but it's like, be thine own physician. Like, as in, if you can, when you get to a point where you get to know your body, like, or you listen to it, like, and as in, you are the best person, ideally you are the best person to know when something is off,
Yeah.
and to listen to that. Because even that, sometimes you go to physios, or you might go to a professional for an assessment, and they'll ask you, how is it feeling? Like, is it, how would you rate the soreness, or how would you rate the pain or discomfort? And it's so subjective, like, and somebody, how you're going to trying to describe in words a pain, or a kind of a sensation you're getting, is very difficult, like, but
Yeah.
kind of learning that of yourself, and being aware of it, like, and I know, and this is the thing, like, I know if you sign yourself up for something, you can't just say, oh, can you push that back by 3 days there, and I'll be fine in 3 days if you can do the race like 3 days later. Like people live to calendars, and things happen on specific dates. But advice to younger runners would be like that, if you're feeling, like, if you know it, like, if something is off, not to be afraid to say it, like, to because I know as well, sometimes coaches, I'm not saying it's this for anybody's case, like, but coaches can try to, like, would get you to, like, to push through it, like, just say, oh, go on, just try it anyway, like, and so, and you do a race, you might, do an event for the team or for the club, which is important as well. But you could be out of running then for 3 or 4 months. So just having the confidence to know it yourself, like, it's really important, to because you are the person who ultimately will know best, once you get some kind of a gauge of what is a twinge, and what is something that's likely to actually become actually disaster. I shouldn't have done that, like, I'm after going too far with it.
It's an interesting one, because like, for example, it hasn't gotten it hasn't gotten worse. If anything, it's gotten a little bit better. And it's more like, because I haven't felt anything similar to that in a while, I kind of just start freaking out. But at the same time, like you said earlier, I'm of the view of like, it's definitely not worth absolutely flogging yourself in a race to then like be out for a certain amount of time. That's just a call that I wouldn't want to make, just because like, if it's going to put me out for longer, like I'll miss just the everyday training much more than like shaving. Although I definitely want to shave a minute off my PB, for example, but like I'll miss that much more than getting a time. But I'm also in that point where it's a little bit annoying as well, because I know that I'm in probably the best shape I've been in as well. So it's like, I don't know, weighing that up, but at the end of the day, just like I just want to stay healthy, essentially.
Yeah, because and sometimes the best cure of all for a niggles is a race, because like it's amazing, it's quite amazing. I find like sometimes just when you start racing, like you the things that you thought were tweaking or twinging, it's like it just go, you know, you just don't even think about them. You're just in the race, and it can be, it just, I don't know what it is, it can, like it just blows it out of the water. Sometimes one race like that I've had even back along, sometimes something might be twinging or whatever. Then you have like one really like a good hard race, and like before the race you'd be worried that something is going to give or going to go. Then you do the race, you have a good race, and it's like that twinge or niggle is gone. It just gets blown, like, you know, it just,
Yeah.
what, like that good race is what was needed, like, because as well you can bring an injury with you for longer than is needed as well. Like you can be very cautious, you know, about a niggle or a twinge, like, and you're just very, like, you know, conscious of it, like in your mind, whereas you know, sometimes like that, just jumping into a race and something that, you know, it just literally, like, it just kind of blows past it, like it, and then you kind of realize in your own head, like, it's, you know, I'm actually good to go again. I don't need to be minding myself for another few weeks. I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully I have the self-awareness to make a good call, but we'll see.
What distance race is it, Luke?
I've got a half marathon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'll see. I'm gonna get it assessed on Wednesday. And because I haven't been to the physio in quite a while and I haven't felt this before. I've had issues with my calves in the past, and that was also a funny one where one time I just knew intrinsically that, mainly because my form was all over the place and I just felt like it something was not right and that I needed to sort of take time off, and I did go to the physio. But then another time it was similar sort of area, but like I felt like my form was okay and I could sort of run through it, and it was a different sort of feeling. But like you said, I had a hard time describing that to the physio, like the difference in pain. So yeah, sometimes it is a little bit more somewhat more subjective, and it's tricky when the physio then has to interpret. Obviously if you go to a good physio, that, you know, they're used to interpreting that sort of information. But yeah, I feel like it's probably a lot that gets lost in translation potentially. But Dom, have you had anything recent? I know you've been pretty like okay, right, Dom?
You still with us, Dom?
Sorry, yeah, it's cutting in and out. But I think you asked like if I had any injuries,
or if you've had anything come up recently, or
I've had like the upper hamstring sort of pain that's just been neat, like lingering for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months.
Right,
but
okay.
it hasn't been anything too bad, and I've just trained through it, and it's been fine. And I think I need to get in a gym and do some deadlifts or something like that to really get to the bottom of it. But at the moment, I can't really do that. So I've been trying to do like glute bridges and some sort of like plyometrics or bodyweight exercises when I can, but that's about it.
I just lost him.
Is he gone again?
Did
You know, a bit
you lose him
fast.
as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
sorry.
back. You're back. You know, you're back.
Shocking Wi-Fi. Did you get that?
We got
Yeah.
you
No.
do glute bridges. That's where we got to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. No, that's good. But you also know that you like how you can push your body. Obviously, you've been training for so long as well, so you're kind of judging what's like worth listening to. And
yeah, and most of the time, if you got a niggle, it's just you do need to do more strength work. Like I found pretty much every time I get an injury or a niggle, it's because I haven't done enough strength work. So that's usually the fix for me. Yeah.
I got to get in the gym.
It fascinates me, Dom, what you're doing to be traveling, you know, for a good block of time and to train and get races in as you travel. I like
Yeah.
you know, it's a difficult thing to do. It's fair play to you, like for you know, for doing it, and you're obviously in shape, like, you know, you're in good nick, like you're keeping your level, you know.
Yeah, it's been tough though. Like I feel like sometimes you kind of sacrifice, I don't know, going to the pub or having an extra couple drinks or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like in the long term, I still don't miss out on any of those experiences. Really, like a night at the pub isn't going to change your life. So, uh, yeah,
Yeah, and it is cool. Like that is a cool way to experience other cultures as well. Like you know, with
yeah,
like that, to be able to jump in on running scenes, or you know, like,
yeah,
because in fairness, like, you know, in Scotland, wherever you are, you know, wherever you might be, like, um runners are runners, you know. And if you know, if you just fall in, or if you know where there's a good running route and you fall in with a group, you know, you're immediately, there's a commonality, like, and you know, it's a very easy thing to do, to go and run, like run 40 minutes or run an hour with someone, you know. It's, and even, you know, even if there's a language thing, it doesn't really matter, like, you know, you just run anyway. Like it's a very it's a really good way to, it's a lovely way to experience travel as well, and to, you know, to experience other, you know, it's kind of like an access all areas card, like for travel and for the world. It's a commonality like that, you know, that people
yeah,
know.
definitely.
Yeah,
That's a really good point.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
Dom, do you have any other questions or?
no, I think probably just start wrapping up then.
Yeah.
There's one question we ask everyone who's come on the show, and that's what your favorite race or like moment of running has been.
That's funny. I probably, I don't know if I should say it. It's a really small one. It's nothing to do with any big marathons or big PBs. The person who was, and if he ever hears this, he probably, I don't know if he there's a local runner. I don't, you know, I'm not, I don't know if he tunes into your podcast. He's the person who was behind you on Thursday night, in Rathcormac. His name is James McCarthy, and he apologized to me after the race, because he said to me, you lost second place because of me, you know, because he said, and what you just said, he said, like, when he got back up to you, he kind of pushed you into a reaction. And that's what, yeah. So his name is James McCarthy, and James is a brilliant runner. And he's from East Cork. We were kind of in the middle of Cork there last Thursday night. So he's from further east and the east. There used to be a summer series of races for May, June, July, and August. 4 months. There used to be a 5 mile race on the last Thursday of every month. And the last race of the series was the last Thursday in August in a little place called Ballycotton. And Ballycotton became famous as it had a 10 mile road race, and it became a really famous, even in a European setting. People used to travel from the Netherlands and the UK to come to this small little fishing village in the middle of East Cork. It's like a cul-de-sac village. Anyway, one of the years I was getting into running, and James is an exceptionally strong runner. And a few years ago, he was unbeatable. He was, when I was getting into running, he was unbeatable. James is still an absolutely fantastic runner, but back then, he was mythical to me. Like, and I used to dream of, like, one day being able to stick with him. So anyway, one of my favorite memories of running is the last night of this Ballycotton Summer Series, organized by the club he's from. And coming towards the end of the race, just like last Thursday night, it was the first time I stayed with James, and there was one other runner who in the last mile dropped off, and it was myself and James. And with about 400 meters to go, James went. And at one level, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, that's grand. I did well. I stuck with him till 400 to go. It's like, yeah, you know, I did myself well. And, you know, but then I just started thinking, like, I might never, ever have this chance again, like, to be so close to be able to get a result on him, to be able to finish ahead of him. And it meant a lot to me, like, you know. So it's funny, like, and so I was up to maybe about 150 to go, 150 meters to go. I was, you know, maybe like 15 meters back of him, but it was like game over. Like, he had made a decisive move. But just like last Thursday night, I just gave this an almighty effort for the last maybe like 50, 60 meters just to close on him, and like just on the line, I pipped him. I just got him. I got the win. And it was like this. It was like a kind of a big enough deal of a series of races in our little area of running in Cork, and it was just a really good memory for me because, yeah, I mean, and like that, it's not PBing or it's not my PB for half marathon or anything like that. But it was just at the time, it meant a lot to me. So it's a really, very, it's probably, it's one of my more precious memories in running. So, but no, I'm very glad actually to have like that. I wasn't running, and it was by chance I got into running by going to Dubai, and just because I didn't have access to the sport I used to play. But I'm really, really glad, and it's a really cool community to be part of, like, and not just here locally, like, but like that, if I rocked up in Sydney, I know I'd have my Garmin out, I'd be looking to see where lads are running, and I would before you just you'd be chatting to people and you kind of get to know what the scene is like, and it's a great thing to be part of.
Absolutely. That race recap reminded me of when I beat Dom at Fingal Bay Park Run.
That's a good job. These are the ones that matter.
That's my favorite memory. So
that was the first time ever I lost to Smitty.
Still hasn't happened again, but yeah.
All you need is one. All you need is one.
Exactly.
And keep reminding it, keep bringing it back up.
Oh, I do. It's all good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very good.
But thanks so much for coming on, John. It's been a really insightful episode. I think you got a lot of running wisdom and some good stories to share. So I think anyone who listens will really appreciate it. Thanks once again.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for asking me on. It's my first time doing something like this, so it's good fun, and and best of luck in your half marathon, Luke, and best of luck in Berlin, Dom. I'll be looking out for those times, and so, and we know that hopefully someday we'll meet up for a run again. Paths keep crossing across the world, like, so that can happen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
See ya.